So for this gameplay, we're going to be focused more on defensive flying and trying to help people see that the idea of boom and zoom doesn't necessarily mean shoot the target and run away in a straight line. I see a lot of pilots thinking that Republic has to boom and zoom because they have shields without really understanding what boom and zoom means, and they throw it around as a keyword because it sounds cool, and admittedly it does. But the intent behind it is to attack your target, deal as much damage as possible, as quickly as possible, and then to not necessarily escape, because this is a dogfight, you're not going to be able to go much of anywhere. You're simply repositioning to get into a better situation for your next engagement. With rebels, that doesn't always mean put power to engines and run away, because chances are the Empire can put power to engines too, and you're just not going to outrun them, especially with that power converter. With rebels, you really need to use your cover to avoid getting hit, and that is your zoom. That's your evasion, your defensive flying. While you're evading, that's when you charge your shields, get your power back up, and reposition for another engagement. You don't even have to escape your current engagement. You just need to get out of the line of fire for a couple of seconds to get yourself set for the next attack. Yesterday I saw a pilot spawn in and engage a group of enemies. He was flying solo. He engaged 4 targets. He made it about 10 seconds before he died. It went about as well as you'd expect. He didn't do any damage to the enemy. He tried to put power to shields and escape the situation. He tried to fly in a little bit of a corkscrew once he realized he had no chance of winning. And then he tried to extend away and reach a resupply point. And he was in an X-Wing. It was not going to happen. That's cool. So, unfortunately, I've got to queue back up. Still a new game where you get disconnected randomly. In that situation, obviously don't put yourself in that situation. Don't be the guy that's trying to engage a group of enemies alone, because chances are it's not going to work out. Even if you're an amazing pilot, you're trying to engage 4 targets. Those targets don't have to be as good as you. They just have to be good enough to keep you occupied while the other 3 shoot you in the back. So it's more of a pick your fight, and once you're in the fight, then you fly based on the situation, whether you want to fly offensively or defensively. So let's say you're in a fight against 2 targets. You've got one in front of you that you're chasing, you've got someone behind you. In that situation, as soon as someone engages you in the rear, you need to switch to that target and then focus on either engaging that target and eliminating it quickly, which I usually do if it's a TIE interceptor, by boosting away, drifting, and then forcing a head-on attack. Or you need to break that target's line of sight on you so that you can evade and either wait for a teammate to help you or simply stay alive to charge your shields and to re-engage. What you should not be doing is staying focused on the target in front of you, because best case situation, you manage to kill it and then you die, and all you did was trade, and the team is exactly where it was a moment ago. You went 1 for 1. Congratulations, you didn't do anything. I see that happen a lot too, where target fixation just results in both pilots dying. Often it just results in whoever's fixated being the one dying. Ouch. So with this one, it's gonna, unless the enemy team gets some more people on it, it's gonna force those pilots to fly really defensively. If you're an Imperial pilot and you need to fly defensively, you need to make as much use of that power converter as you possibly can. And your repair droid, you should absolutely be running a repair droid on whatever Imperial ship you're using, because having the power converter and not having shields really is a trade-off on sustainability within a fight. I saw some misinformation on Reddit that said that Rebel pilots should only boom and zoom and not focus on turn fighting or try to get out of the fight to avoid the Imperials, and that's just simply wrong. You cannot outrun an Imperial fighter because they can simply run power to engines and catch you. It's just not going to happen. You need to outmaneuver them, stay tight in that fight, recharge your shields, and engage the target. Because only by wearing down a target at close range are you going to be able to kill it. If you simply try to run away, any experienced Imperial pilot is going to run power to engines and chase you. That can actually work to your advantage in close range. Boosting away for a short distance can make that pilot think you're running away. They'll put power to engines to chase you, and then you boost and drift to force a head-on, and suddenly they're caught with power to engines, nothing, and weapons, and you just kill them. That's why that head-on tactic is so effective. But that said, this match is going to focus more on choosing your fights, choosing your targets, and flying defensively when you need it. So I'll do my best to try to call out when I'm flying defensively, so you can kind of see when I'm using cover, specifically these asteroids and the debris field. It's going to be used to try to break line of sight between myself and other pilots.
This is Vanguard 1, standing by.
That'll let me get my shields back up, and since my shields are up, my weapons charge passively, and then I can get more power in my enemies. Here I'm rotating a little bit to get a better look at their team as they come in. I don't want squints sneaking around to the outside. I just want to pick a solo fighter and try to do as much damage as possible. Now I'm going to engage another target. I think he's using maybe Plas Burst. I wasn't sure. For some reason he stopped in space. Don't do that. Just don't. You're gonna die as soon as you do that. Every time I see someone stop in space, I think 3 kill. So here, I'm using the cruiser for cover to regen my shields and get my power back up for the next round of attack. I've got this target coming head on. If you're a TIE Interceptor, don't go head on. Even with power to weapons, you cannot do enough damage against an X-Wing. Especially if they're using rockets to win that head-on fight. A small spiral, here I'll demonstrate that here. A small spiral is kind of the way you want to attack. It makes it harder for them to hit your fighter, and you boost through in order to try to get behind the enemy. So usually I would go head-on with this target and try to kill him. For this demonstration, I'm going to try to go around him a little bit. So, going around. See, wasn't able to get shots on. I'm boosting in right behind him. In most situations, they're not going to be focused on that other target. He'd be focused on me and trying to turn with me. Here I'm practicing defensive flying. I know I've got an enemy squint behind me. So while I could boost and engage, I'm going to focus more on defensive flying for this video. The best way to defensively fly is to simply use the available cover around you. You can ping the target for your team, and pretty much just, whenever you want, just keep flying in a circle. Watch out for mines. I could hear one being dropped. Must have been a friendly. So see how he's broken away from the cover? You can then engage the target and eliminate him. I was able to get one solid hit there. If I could hit him with a rocket, that would have been a kill. A little power to shields. Make sure I'm up there. Do repair there. an eye on that missile, you can actually deploy chaff, like I just did,
They have a lock.
and hit missiles. Even if they're not locked onto you. Your chaff will still destroy them.
Excellent.
Again, forcing the boost, or boosting out to the side to force the head on with the TIE Interceptor. And the other thing to remember is defensive flying and offensive flying are still both forms of flight. You can do them both interchangeably, you can do them both at the same time. You don't have to continually switch between, okay, now I'm on offense, now I'm on defense. You can switch quickly. So here I'm on offense, flying towards the target. I'm not going to engage, I'm going to simply try to slide behind him, with the idea being that if his teammate comes up, I can be on both offense and defense. Since he's trying to fly in a circle right now against our team, he's actually on offense and defense. He's looking for a target, offense. He's also looking to try and escape towards that resupply point. If you notice, he pretty much got himself killed doing that. He took more damage than if he had simply stayed in the fight. Trying to escape straight line towards a resupply point is just a good way to rack up a death. If you can scoot away and use cover, it'll work. But in most situations, it's just going to get you killed. Let's see, is he going to go for it? Yep, he's going for it. So I'm going to unload and kill him.
Just doing my job.
He was going for a resupply point that he had absolutely no chance of getting.
Blast that, Vanguard.
Get this guy coming head on. I don't see a whole lot of pilots flying Reapers that much, which is kind of unfortunate. It's a fun ship to fly. And it's a good balance for the Imperials, too, having the ability to resupply your team with shields. Quick side note, when you're flying as Rebels, it's absolutely in your best interest to take as many of those resupply points as possible. Even if you're not really resupplying, and you just fire one rocket to use the point, by taking that point, you're denying the enemy access to it, which for the Imperials can be absolutely deadly. That means that they cannot prepare, especially if they're not using the droid. So that was good flying on his part, but we're going to try to use the asteroid. Unfortunately, it was kind of bad luck that he smacked the asteroid. But that was still a good tactic to try to evade multiple fighters. If you're outnumbered and can't get a good shot, don't try to fight 2 or 3 fighters out in the open. Evade and make it a one-on-one. You can win a one-on-one. So just, again, target going straight towards a resupply point. Please stop doing that. You're just feeding kills to the enemy team at that point. So yeah, that'll be the end of this video. I'll record again and post another one. But what I'm trying to highlight with this gameplay is how to survive longer in dogfights. Takeaway from this video, don't go in a straight line, don't stop, use cover to your advantage. Even if you're not a good shot or you think you're not a good pilot, you can still evade the enemy and keep them tied up long enough for your team to get the kill. I am a decent pilot, but I'm not special by any means. And even if you're new to flight sims, there's always going to be 1 or 2 pilots like me on your team. If you're able to fly defensively and get used to flying defensively to use cover, those pilots are going to kill the target that's behind you. Even if you want to become a pilot like that, where you can simply look at a target and it dies, you still need to know how to fly defensively. Flying defensively is what sets you up for your attack run. You can't kill the enemy if you're dead. So that concludes this video. On to the next.